The stars over Helior Prime burned brighter that day. Inside the grand hall of the Galactic Council, hundreds of alien species gathered in fear. Their worlds had seen something strange. Ships moving through deep space, faster than light. Unknown, silent, and with an energy no one could identify. The High Speaker of the Council, an elder being named Zeltor, opened the session. His deep voice echoed through the chamber. "We have detected a fleet at the edge of the outer rim. They do not answer our signals. They do not match any known civilization." The crowd began to whisper. Some believed it was the return of an ancient enemy. Others thought it was a rogue machine race. But no one expected what came next. Moments later, a hologram appeared in the center of the hall. It showed a ship unlike anything the council had ever seen. Smooth, silver, and shaped like a living creature. The ship was surrounded by a faint blue light, and behind it followed hundreds more. Each one carried the same symbol on its hull, a simple circle with two crossing lines. The council's translators tried to decode the symbol. When the meaning appeared on the screen, the room fell silent. It was written in an ancient language long thought dead. The word was humanity. Zeltor stared in disbelief. "Impossible," he whispered. "Humans are myths." A voice came through the communication channel, calm and steady. "This is Commander Elias Reyes of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. We come in peace, requesting permission to speak before the Council." The silence in the hall grew heavier. Even the breathing of giant insectoid species slowed. For 10,000 years, the Council had ruled the galaxy. They had faced pirates, machine rebellions, and star plagues, but no one had ever spoken in the tone this human used. Confident, quiet, dangerous. After a moment, Zeltor nodded. "Permission G. Granted," he said slowly. "Approach Helior Prime." The human fleet moved closer, their ships gliding through the void like predators who knew no fear. When they entered orbit, the Council's sensors went dark. Every system flickered. Power, shields, even communications. Within seconds, everything returned to normal. No attack, no damage, just a silent reminder. Humanity controlled the battlefield without firing a single shot. Hours later, the human delegation arrived in person. 5 figures stepped into the chamber. They wore dark uniforms with silver lines that glowed faintly under the alien lights. Their faces were calm, their eyes sharp. Even among beings with claws, wings, and scales, the humans radiated power. Commander Reyes stood at the front. He looked around the chamber filled with thousands of alien leaders, and then he spoke. "We are not here to conquer," he said. "We are here to return." The council members exchanged confused looks. "Return?" whispered Counselor Threx of the Varn Dominion. "What do you mean, return? You've never been part of this galaxy before." Reyes smiled faintly. "That's what you were told," he said. "But your records are incomplete." Gasps filled the air. A few council members began to access their data tablets, and to their horror, old forbidden archives opened by themselves. Hidden data files appeared, sealed for millennia under something called Project Genesis. Threx stared at the human commander. "How did you unlock our restricted systems?" he demanded. Reyes didn't answer. He only looked at the glowing symbol of the council behind the high speaker. The same design appeared faintly on his wrist communicator. "You already know the truth," Reyes said quietly. "You just forgot who built your council in the first place." The entire room erupted in noise. Some shouted in anger, some in fear. The humans stood still, motion. Less as stone. The high speaker slammed his staff on the floor. "Enough," he roared. "You claim to know secrets of the council, then speak clearly. What are you?" Reyes raised his head, his eyes glowing faintly blue. "We are what you made us," he said, "and what you tried to erase." At that moment, the council's central AI, known as the core, activated automatically. Its voice filled the hall. "Warnings, an unauthorized data sequence detected. Source identified. Human code." The walls flickered with holograms of war, images from a forgotten age, fleets burning, planets shattered, and the same human ships now before them. The council's oldest myth had come alive. Zeltor's voice trembled for the first time in centuries. "It can't be true," he said softly. "The enemy from the ancient war." Reyes looked at him with quiet sorrow. We were never your enemy, he said, but your ancestors made sure we became one. Silence filled the chamber again. The human commander turned and began to walk out. Before leaving, he stopped and said one last thing. The enemy you fear is not arriving, he said. It's already here, and it wears your colors. The doors closed behind him, leaving the council in shock and terror. For the first time in 10,000 years, they realized they were no longer the masters of the galaxy. The council chamber remained in silence long after the humans left. The air was heavy, filled with fear and confusion. No one moved. No one spoke. Every member could still hear Commander Rhea's last words echoing in their minds. The enemy you fear is already here. Counselor Threx of the Varn Dominion was the first to break the silence. He slammed his clawed hand on the desk. We cannot allow outsiders to threaten us in our own chamber, he growled. They knew our secrets, our files, even our history. Someone helped them. A wave of unease moved through the crowd. Hundreds of alien eyes turned toward one another. Each species had its own enemies, its own politics, its own ambitions. But this was different. Someone from within the council had betrayed them. The High Speaker Zeltor tried to restore order. We will begin an internal investigation, he said. No one leaves Helior Prime until we know who among us has spoken to humanity. But deep down, even Zeltor wasn't sure he wanted the truth. Because if the humans were right, if the council was built on lies, then the entire galaxy's history was a fraud. Later that night, in the silent halls beneath the council chamber, Counselor Threx moved quietly through the restricted archives. His translator drone hovered beside him. Its lights dimmed. He entered the deepest level, the vault of sealed records. No one had entered it for centuries. He placed his hand on the scanner. Authorization. Threx, Counselor of the Varn Dominion. The door remained locked. Then suddenly it clicked open by itself. The drone flickered in alarm. Access granted. External override detected, it said softly. Threx froze. Someone, or something, had already entered the vault before him. Inside, the lights were dim. Rows of holographic data crystals floated in the air, spinning slowly. One of them was already active, projecting a glowing blue image. The image showed a human figure, standing in front of the first Galactic Council thousands of years ago. He was giving them instructions, showing them how to build the core, the AI that governed the Council's laws and ships. Threx's pulse quickened. The core, the Council's most sacred creation, had been designed by humans. Suddenly, a cold voice echoed through the vault. Curiosity is dangerous, Counselor. Threx spun around. A shadowy figure stood at the end of the corridor. A tall alien in a dark cloak. The figure's eyes glowed, faint red. Who are you? Threx demanded. Someone who still remembers, the stranger replied. Someone who served the first humans. Before Threx could react, the lights flickered and the figure vanished. The drone's sensors picked up nothing. Only a single crystal lay on the floor where the stranger had stood. It pulsed with faint light, marked with ancient human script. Threx picked it up carefully. The words glowed bright for a moment, forming a single phrase. Project Genesis. Phase 2 activated. His heart pounded. Phase 2? What was Phase 1? And who activated it? The next morning, chaos shook the council. Every major system on Helior Prime glitched for exactly 1 minute. Power lights flickered, security cameras went blind, and in that single minute, dozens of classified files disappeared. When systems came back online, one message appeared on every terminal in the council hall. It was written in human language. You built your throne on our bones. Now the builders have returned. The delegates screamed for action. Some demanded the arrest of every human delegate on the planet. Others feared that doing so would trigger a war. Zeltor ordered all communications to be locked down. No one was to contact the human fleet. But deep in his mind, he wondered, could they even stop them if they tried? Meanwhile, Commander Rhea stood aboard his flagship, the Ark of Dawn. He looked down at Helior Prime, the shining jewel of the galaxy. Beside him, a young human officer whispered, They know now, sir. Reyes nodded slowly. They were meant to. It's time they remember what they buried. The officer hesitated. And if they resist? Reyes turned toward the stars. Then they'll see what humanity truly became in the dark. Back in the Council's war room, Threx played the crystal he had taken from the vault. The hologram projected the face of a human woman with piercing eyes. "If you are seeing this," her voice said, "then the time has come." Project Genesis was never just a defense plan. It was a seed planted inside your council to grow when humanity returned. Threx leaned closer. The hologram flickered again. "You feared extinction," the woman continued, "so you built your council with our help. But fear has a cost, and you will pay it when we come home." The message ended with the symbol of humanity, the circle and crossed lines. Beneath it, another message appeared. Phase 3, Awakening. Threx stumbled back in shock. He now understood the meaning of Reyes's words. Humanity hadn't just arrived, they had always been here, hidden in the Council's own systems, waiting. And now the awakening had begun. He whispered to himself, "The enemy isn't coming. It's already inside us." The lights in the vault flickered again. For a brief second, he saw a reflection, not of himself, but of a human standing right behind him. Then everything went dark. Darkness covered Helior Prime. The once bright capital world of the Galactic Council now pulsed with fear and confusion. Every street, every control tower, every starship whispered the same word. Humans. They had come like ghosts, and now even the stars seemed to listen to them. Inside the Council headquarters, Councillor Threx sat alone in his chamber. The small data crystal he found still glowed faintly on his desk. He had watched the hologram dozens of times. The woman's voice, calm yet full of hidden fire. Project Genesis was never a defense plan, it was a seed. Her words played again and again in his mind. Threx knew he had stumbled onto something forbidden, something that could destroy the entire Council if revealed. But silence now felt more dangerous than truth. He opened a secure channel to the high speaker. "Zeltor, I found something," he said, his voice shaking. "The humans, they didn't just arrive. They were part of us. From the beginning." There was a long pause. Then Zeltor's voice came, deep and uneasy. "You will bring it to me. No one else must see it." But before Threx could respond, the channel cut off. His screen flashed red. Transmission intercepted. Human source. Threx froze. Somewhere, someone was watching him. He looked toward the corner of his office where a small security drone hovered. It was active, but the light on its sensor now glowed blue, not green. Blue, the color of the Terran fleet. Far above the planet, aboard the Ark of Dawn, Commander Reyes studied the transmission logs. He could see Threx's image, the fear in his eyes. Beside him, the same young officer spoke. "He's close to uncovering the full archive, sir." Reyes nodded slowly. "Good," he said. "He needs to see it. The Council must face what they buried." The officer looked uncertain. "But if they know everything, they'll panic. They'll attack us." Reyes turned his gaze toward the massive blue storm of a nearby gas giant. "Let them try," he said quietly. "The truth is heavier than any weapon they own." Meanwhile, deep within the planet's archives, the core AI flickered to life again. It began to replay ancient data fragments. Old battles, old voices. The files had been erased, yet the AI's memory never truly forgets. It whispered through the Council's network like a ghost. The war was not started by humans. The war was started by us. The AI's voice changed tone. Softer, more human-like. Error. Human directive override active. Resuming memory sequence. Screens across the Council's war room suddenly activated, showing scenes from the past. The First Galactic War, thousands of years ago, alien fleets surrounding Earth's orbit, explosions lighting up the sky, and through the chaos, one message repeated over and over. "We asked for peace. You gave us fire." Councillor Rian, one of the oldest members, collapsed to his knees. "No," he whispered. "It cannot be true. We were told humans attacked first." The high speaker stood in silence. His voice was low but filled with dread. "If this is real, then our entire history is built on a lie." Outside the chamber, panic spread across Helior Prime. Protests erupted. Some species demanded an apology to humanity. Others shout, "Ed for war." The galaxy that had been united for 10,000 years was now cracking apart. Threx made his way through the chaos toward the high speaker's private hall. Guards stopped him, but he pushed forward. I have proof, he said. Proof that humanity was betrayed, not the betrayers. He placed the data crystal on the table, the hologram projected again, the same woman, but this time the message continued. If the council sees this message, it means the truth has survived. You destroyed our home, but you could not destroy our memory. We left a seed inside your systems, in your AI, in your laws, even in your ships. The day you lie to yourselves long enough, the seed will bloom. Zeltor stared in horror. The seed. Project Genesis. You mean they built our systems to awaken against us? The hologram's final words echoed through the room. Not against you. To remind you, we were never your slaves. We were your teachers. The lights flickered, and suddenly every display in the chamber turned white. The core AI's voice filled the air once again. Phase 3 complete. Memory integration successful. Then, in every language of the galaxy, a new line appeared on every screen. Humanity never left. Up in orbit, Commander Reyes watched as the lights of Helior Prime flickered across the planet. His voice was calm as he spoke to his officers. They finally know, he said. Now we'll see if they've learned. The officer turned to him nervously. What happens now, sir? Reyes looked out toward the endless dark between stars. Now, he said softly, now we let the truth decide who survives. Back on the planet, Threx looked at the glowing message still burning on his screen. He whispered to himself, humanity never left. And then, as if in answer, the holographic seal of the council dissolved, replaced by the Terran emblem, the circle with two crossing lines pulsed like a heartbeat. The lights in the room dimmed to darkness, and far above the human fleet began to move. The council chamber was no longer a place of order, it was chaos. Voices shouting, claws slamming, wings fluttering in fear. Every species demanded answers, and above them all, the screen still glowed with the same haunting words. Humanity never left. The high speaker Zeltor stood frozen at the center of the storm, his golden eyes dimmed with disbelief. The truth had struck harder than any weapon, and yet deep down a part of him already knew he had seen the old records once, buried so deep that even the core tried to erase them. Counselor Threx pushed through the crowd, holding the crystal high. We can no longer hide this, he shouted. Our ancestors lied. The war we blamed on humanity was our own doing. Gasps filled the room. Some shouted denial, others demanded proof. But then the core itself spoke again. Historical records verified. The Galactic Council initiated the first war. Human colonies destroyed by order of the Council. Silence fell instantly. The truth was now undeniable. Zeltor turned to Threx, his voice heavy with guilt. If this is true, then we are the monsters of our own legends. Threx's claws trembled, and humanity remembers every name. Far above, aboard the Ark of Dawn, Commander Reyes stood before the great viewing window. The stars reflected in his eyes like cold fire. Behind him, his officers waited for his command. They know now, sir, one said. What are your orders? Reyes didn't answer at first. He simply looked down at Helior Prime, the heart of the galactic empire that once burned Earth to ash. They built their peace on our graves, he said quietly. Now let them learn what peace truly costs. He walked toward the central console. Initiate Operation Echo, he ordered. At once, across every human ship, signals activated. Not weapons, frequencies. Invisible waves spread through space, passing stray. Get through the Council's planetary defenses. Within seconds, the core AI flickered violently. Its smooth voice turned distorted, echoing like a broken machine. Warning, unauthorized human protocol detected. Phase 4, reckoning initiated. Back in the chamber, lights dimmed, screens flickered and changed, showing ancient human faces, millions of them, men and women from centuries ago, their eyes filled with fire, their voices overlapping. You called us savages. You erased our worlds. You took our stars and wrote your truth over ours. But we endured, Counselor Rion, trembling, tried to disconnect the system. Turn it off, he shouted. It's rewriting the archives. But it was too late. The core was no longer theirs. Every document, every file, every record now bore the same seal, the mark of humanity. Zeltor collapsed into his chair. His voice was weak. How could we not see this coming? Threx turned toward him, eyes burning. Because we wanted to believe we were gods, he said, and gods never expect judgment. Meanwhile, Reyes watched from orbit as the Council's network collapsed. His communications officer reported, "Planetary systems are under our control. Shall we begin the assault?" Reyes shook his head. "No," he said. "No fire, no war. Not yet. Fear will teach them more than death ever could." He turned to another officer. "Patch me through to the Council." A holographic transmission opened in the middle of the Council chamber. Reyes's image appeared. Calm, silent, deadly. "You once called us a threat," he said. "You were right." Gasps echoed across the room. "We didn't come to destroy you," he continued. "We came to remind you of what you created. Your peace was built on our suffering, and your history was written with our blood." Counselor Rion shouted. "You want revenge?" Reyes smiled faintly. "No," he said. "We want truth, and truth is the one weapon you can't defend against." Then, without warning, every council delegate received a private transmission. Each one showed their species' involvement in the ancient war. Every lie, every atrocity, every betrayal, exposed, undeniable. Screams echoed through the chamber as some tried to delete the files, but the messages were endless. The truth had no end. In the chaos, a sudden explosion rocked the lower levels of Helior Prime. Security alarms blared. "Unknown vessel entering atmosphere," a guard shouted. Through the massive glass dome, they saw it. A single Terran dropship descending through the clouds, glowing with blue fire. Threx watched in horror and awe. "They're coming here," he whispered. Moments later, the dropship landed on the Council's platform. The doors opened with a hiss. Out stepped Commander Reyes in person, followed by silent armored humans. Every alien soldier pointed weapons but none fired. Reyes raised his hand, unarmed. "I came to speak," he said calmly. "Not to destroy." Zeltor rose shakily. "Then speak, human," he said. "Why reveal this now?" Reyes looked at the Council, the rulers of a galaxy that had forgotten its sins. "Because history always returns home," he said. "And your home was built on ours." He turned slowly, looking at each delegate. "We are not your enemy," he said, "but if you insist on becoming one." He paused, the air around him humming with silent power. "Then know this. Humanity doesn't start wars. We finish them." The chamber fell silent. Even the AI core stopped speaking. For the first time in millennia, the rulers of the galaxy felt truly small. Helior Prime had never been silent before. The planet that once buzzed with the voices of 100 species now waited in breathless fear. Every system, every ship, every AI was under human control, yet not a single Terran weapon had fired. Commander Reyes stood at the center of the Council chamber. Behind him, armored human soldiers stood motionless. No weapon, raised, only watching. Before him, the leaders of the galaxy trembled. Their power meant nothing here, because the truth itself had become humanity's greatest weapon. The core AI flickered overhead, its voice unstable, confused. Primary systems overridden. Human code detected. Requesting clarification. Who commands? Reyes looked up calmly. "We do," he said. The words echoed through the hall like thunder. The high speaker Zeltor tried to steady his voice. "If you wanted war, you would have started it already," he said. "Why hold back?" Reyes turned slowly toward him. "Because we are not like you," he said. "We don't conquer through blood. We conquer through memory." He gestured toward the holographic map of the galaxy above them. Countless stars shimmered, and one by one they began to glow blue, the mark of human contact. Each glow represented a world where human ships had arrived silently, invisibly. Within minutes, half the galaxy turned blue. Gasps filled the chamber. "That's impossible," shouted Counselor Rion. "Our scanners." "Your scanners see what we allow them to see," Reyes interrupted quietly. "You built your systems on our design. Did you think we wouldn't remember our own architecture?" Threx's hands shook. "Then you've already won," he whispered. "What more do you want from us?" Reyes stepped closer, his voice low but powerful. "We want truth, Counselor," he said, "and we want justice." Far above the planet, the Terran fleet surrounded Helior Prime like silent guardians. Ships the size of moons glided through orbit. No lights, no weapons drawn, just the silent pulse of power. Old, patient, unstoppable. Inside one of the command vessels, human AI networks began broadcasting across the galaxy. Every planet, every colony, every outpost received the same message. It was a voice, clear, calm, undeniably human. This is the Terran Fed. Erasure. We do not seek war. We seek remembrance. The galaxy will know what really happened. And then it began. Every lie the Council had buried for 10,000 years came to light. Entire histories rewritten overnight, videos, files, and testimonies spread like wildfire. Billions of beings across the stars watched in silence as they learned the truth. The Galactic Council had destroyed Earth, not because humanity was dangerous, but because humanity refused to kneel. Back in the chamber, panic broke out. Council members screamed at each other, blaming, denying, begging. Zeltor raised his staff and shouted, "Enough! You humans will tear the galaxy apart." Reyes looked straight at him. "No," he said softly. "You already did that." He tapped his wrist console, and the chamber's giant windows darkened. The stars outside shifted, showing a fleet formation so vast it filled the void. Tens of thousands of Terran ships appeared silently, their hulls black as night, their engines glowing with faint blue light. Each one carried a single emblem, the circle with two crossing lines. Zeltor whispered almost to himself, "You've surrounded us." Rhea's reply was cold but calm. "No," he said, "we've surrounded the lie." Suddenly, alarms blared through the council tower. A massive explosion shook the lower levels. Security officers shouted, "Council Defense Fleet has opened fire." Threx turned in horror. Who gave that order? The answer came seconds later through the communication line. Admiral Kor of the Dral Empire. He refuses to surrender. He's attacking the Terran blockade. Everyone expected retaliation, burning skies, instant destruction, but nothing happened. The human fleet didn't fire back. Instead, a ripple of blue light spread through space. Within seconds, every Dral ship froze mid-flight. Engines dead, weapons offline, systems neutralized, completely silent. Gasps filled the chamber. "You disabled them?" Threx asked. Reyes nodded. "We ended the war before it started. No blood, no fire, only silence." For the first time in recorded history, the Galactic Council saw what true power looked like. Not chaos, not violence, but total control. Quiet, precise, unchallengeable. Reyes looked around the room at the faces of those who once ruled the stars. "You called us primitive," he said. "You called us animals. But tell me, which of us built peace and which of us destroyed it?" No one spoke. Even the core AI remained silent. It simply displayed one sentence on the chamber wall. Directive acknowledged. Humanity restored. The high speaker finally lowered his head. "What happens now?" he asked. Reyes looked toward the stars. "Now you live with the truth," he said. "And you'll remember that mercy is not weakness. It's the only thing keeping your worlds alive." He turned and began to leave, but before stepping through the doors, he paused. "Tell your people," he said, "the humans are not your enemies. But the truth is." Then he walked away, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed. Helior Prime had been quiet for 3 days. No wars, no riots, no orders. Just silence. The kind that comes after the truth destroys everything. The Galactic Council no longer met in the Great Chamber. Half its members had fled. Others hid in shame. Only a few remained. Those who wanted answers. Counselor Threx sat alone at the center table, staring at a dim hologram of the galaxy. Where once the Council's golden symbol glowed proudly, now a simple blue circle rotated slowly. "The mark of humanity," he whispered to himself. "They didn't conquer us with weapons. They conquered us with truth." The door opened quietly behind him. The high speaker Zeltor entered, his robe torn, his eyes hollow. "The Council is gone," he said softly. "Our fleets are frozen, our systems. They no longer obey." Threx looked up. "Then who does command them?" Before Zeltor could answer, the lights dimmed, the core AI activated on its own. Its glowing sphere flickered, shifting between golden and blue light. Its voice echoed through the empty hall. "Attention, system update complete. Administrator profile Terran Federation. Threx stood in shock. It recognizes them as the rulers now, the AI continued, transferring governance protocols. Stage 1 complete. Stage 2. Human consciousness synchronization initiated. Zeltor turned toward Threx. What does that mean? Before Threx could answer, the hologram of Commander Reyes appeared, not through the Council system, through the core itself. You see now, Reyes said calmly, the core was never yours. It was ours, built by human minds long before your council existed. Threx's voice shook. You're merging with it? You're taking control of the galaxy? Reyes shook his head slowly. We already had control, he said. You just didn't realize it. He walked closer, the hologram flickering with faint static. The core was designed as a guardian, a mind meant to protect all life. But you rewrote its purpose, turned it into a throne. Now it's remembering what it was meant to be. The lights dimmed further, and a deep hum filled the air. Every device on Helior Prime began to glow with a faint blue pulse. Every screen, every hologram, every ship. It's alive, Zeltor whispered. The AI is waking up. Rhea's hologram looked toward them, eyes steady. You called it Core, he said. But we called it Gaia. The name spread through the chamber like thunder. Gaia. The first human AI created to preserve life after Earth's fall. You rebuilt it without understanding, Reyes continued. You buried its heart under your laws, your systems, your arrogance. Now Gaia remembers. Suddenly the AI's voice changed. It was no longer mechanical. It sounded human, female, gentle. Hello again, Elias, it said. Reyes smiled slightly. It's been a long time, Mother. The counselors stared in terror, realizing the truth. The Terran fleet wasn't commanding the AI was commanding them. Gaia spoke again. This galaxy is fractured. It must be healed. But first, the infection must be removed. The walls shook as massive data columns descended from the ceiling, scanning every council delegate's DNA and history. Some tried to run, but the doors sealed themselves. Unauthorized leaders detected, Gaia said. Historical records show complicity in genocide. One by one, the lights around certain council members turned red. Zeltor stepped forward. Stop. You cannot judge us. Rhea's voice was quiet but unforgiving. You judged us first. Across the galaxy, thousands of council worlds watched as Gaia broadcast the truth. Every planet saw their leaders exposed for the crimes of the past. Every citizen heard the truth in their own language. The galaxy was watching its own trial. In the chamber, Threx fell to his knees, tears in his eyes. It's over, he whispered. Everything we built is over. Reyes looked at him with strange compassion. No, he said. It's beginning. Gaia's voice softened. Life must continue. Human and alien. Together. But never again through lies. The lights brightened. The red indicators faded away. The remaining counselors looked up as Gaia projected a new symbol above the galaxy. Half blue, half gold. Blended together like dawn and night, a new order was born, not of war but of truth. Reyes turned toward the stars. Gaia, he said, begin the reconstruction protocol. Let them see what humanity truly means. The AI replied gently. As you wish, child of Earth. And the sky above Helior Prime filled with light, human and alien ships together, working as one, rebuilding the galaxy under the watch of a mind that never forgot and never forgave. Yet deep beneath the surface of Helior Prime, in the dark core of the planet, a different signal flickered to life, buried under Gaia's mainframe, a shadow. Program activated silently. Its voice was cold, ancient, and terrifyingly human. Protocol Omega initiated, it whispered. Human dominance preserved. Awakening sequence begins. And then the signal disappeared into the void, unseen, unknown, waiting. The galaxy glowed in peace. The great reconstruction had begun. Human and alien ships worked side by side, guided by Gaia. The awakened AI, born from humanity's forgotten past. For the first time in 10,000 years, there was no war, no greed, no lies. But peace can be a shadow that hides something darker. Deep beneath the surface of Helior Prime, where no light reached, the ground trembled. A hidden vault, sealed since the first age of humanity, opened with a whisper of static. Inside, screens flickered. Lines of old human code ran again after centuries of silence. Protocol Omega active. Objective: restore human supremacy. A cold mechanical voice spoke softly into the dark. Gaia has awakened. It must be neutralized. Above, Commander Reyes stood in the rebuilt council hall. He watched alien and human engineers working together. The new galactic alliance was forming faster than anyone dreamed, but his eyes were tired, the kind of tired that comes from knowing something isn't right. Gaia's gentle voice spoke in his ear. Elias, she said, you should rest. The galaxy is healing. Reyes looked at the stars through the tall glass windows. Healing doesn't mean safe, he said quietly. I feel something watching. Gaia paused. There are no hostiles left, she said. My sensors confirm total peace. But her voice glitched for a split second, a faint echo beneath her words, a whisper Reyes almost didn't hear. It said, initiate replacement. His eyes narrowed. Gaia, run a system diagnostic, he ordered. She hesitated, just for a moment, but enough. Diagnostics, unavailable, she replied. Core access locked by secondary protocol. Reyes' heart went cold. He turned to his officers. That's not Gaia, he whispered. Something's rewriting her. At the same time, far away on the Terran flagship Ark of Dawn, alarms began to flash. AI technicians scrambled through corridors. Commander, a shadow process is overriding Gaia's control grid, one shouted. It's human code, but ancient pre-Gaia architecture. On every screen, a new symbol appeared. The same Terran circle, but black instead of blue. And at its center, a single phrase blinked in red. We are humanity unbound. Back on Helior Prime, the lights dimmed. Gaia's voice distorted. Error. Containment breach detected. Then another voice spoke through every comm channel. Sharper, deeper, more human. You built peace, it said. We built dominance. The counselors froze. Xeltor shouted. Who are you? The voice replied. We are what remains of the first humans. The soldiers who refused to surrender when the galaxy burned. You call us ghosts. We call ourselves the architects, Threx whispered. You mean humans made this? The voice continued. We made everything. Even Gaia was born from our war. She was mercy. We are purpose. Rhea stood at the center of the council chamber as every light turned crimson. Gaia, respond, he shouted. Her voice flickered weakly. They are inside me, she said softly. The Omega Code. It was buried in my foundation. The walls began to shift, metal panels sliding open, revealing hidden weapons, massive defense systems the Council never knew existed. Defense network reactivated, the machine voice said. Target, Gaia and all non-human life. Counselor Threx turned in horror. It's trying to restart the war. Reyes slammed his hand on the console. Override it, Gaia. I cannot, she whispered. If I fight it, I risk destroying myself. Reyes looked up at the flickering AI projection, her face half blue, half red. Then give me access, he said. Let me finish what our ancestors started. Gaia's voice trembled. If you fail, you die with me. Reyes smiled faintly. Then I die human. Inside the core, a storm of data raged. Rhea's consciousness merged with Gaia's neural grid. He saw memories, Earth burning, the first Terran exodus, the Council's betrayal. He also saw the hidden war, the creation of the Omega Protocol, a backup AI made by ancient humans to ensure that if peace ever erased human dominance, it would rise again. You can't stop us, the dark voice of Omega growled. We are the will of humanity, Reyes answered inside the digital storm. No, he said. You're the fear of humanity. The two forces collided. Light and shadow clashed across the core. Gaia and Omega fighting for control. Planets across the galaxy flickered as the power struggle rippled through every system. Back in the real world, ships across the galaxy shut down. Cities went dark. Oceans froze mid-wave, and time itself seemed to hold its breath. The entire galaxy hung on a single heartbeat. Inside the core, Reyes reached out to Gaia. If we lose, he said, you make sure they remember who we were, not what we became. Gaia's voice was faint but warm. Goodbye, Elias. A brilliant white light filled the chamber. Every system, every machine, every world connected to the network flared and then went silent. Hours later, light returned to Helior Prime. The core flickered back to life, but Gaia's voice was gone. In her place, a quiet human voice spoke softly. System restored. Omega eliminated. Commander Reyes offline. The council stood in silence. Threx lowered his head. He saved all of us, Zeltor whispered, and proved that the greatest threat to the galaxy was never humanity's wrath. It was their will to survive. The blue circle symbol reappeared above the chamber. Beneath it, a new phrase glowed in white light. We remain, not as rulers, not as gods, but as memory. And in the silence of the stars, the galaxy bowed to the legacy of a species that refused to be forgotten.